Just when we thought the Sheryl Swoopes drama was going to blow over, things just got so much messier. Did you hear the shocking news that three-time WNBA MVP absolute legend Sheryl Swoopes, a Hall of Famer in women's basketball, was fired? You guessed it, it all began with her remarks about none other than Caitlin Clark. Oh, but that's just where the trouble starts. Just when we thought the Sheryl Swoopes drama was going to calm down, it just got messier. Let's just say that things have gotten messier since Rachel Dida entered the fray, but before we get into that, do yourself a favor and to ensure that you don't miss a single juicy WNBA update, subscribe to our channel. Back to the show, Swoopes has been making fun of Caitlin Clark for what seems like an eternity. It's like she's acting like she can't even say her name, and the WNBA wasn't having it and decided to bench the Hall of Famer for good. Just when you thought the story couldn't get any crazier, Rachel Dida calls out Swoopes, essentially saying, "Girl, what's your deal? How do we go from basketball legends to full-on reality show dramas?" Sheryl Swoopes and how she has been a certified Caitlin Clark hater for about a year now. Up until now, she has not been able to say anything nice about Caitlin Clark, nor has she been able to even speak her name. So for this specific game against the Fever, they replaced her with another WNBA legend, Nancy Lieberman. Let me explain. Sheryl Swoopes is essentially the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. She is a three-time WNBA MVP Hall of Famer and an amazing legend. You may be wondering, who in the world is she, and why should I care? When she is dismissed, it seems like the basketball gods are having a tantrum. In fact, even Stephen A. Smith is going crazy over it, so you know it's bad when he starts acting agitated. So I can understand why Sheryl Swoopes would have an attitude with people who would question her professional objectivity. But I also understand why people would look at her like she's lost her ever-loving mother. Because you're literally putting the lack of professional objectivity on display for audiences to see, and then you're looking at us acting like we're wrong. This is where things start to become really interesting. What does the much-discussed rising star Caitlin Clark have to do with a legendary person losing their job? People were like, did Sheryl Swoopes get fired? They took her off this game, and a lot of people were also happy about that because we don't know what her commentary would have been like with the Fever on the court. When it feels like there is no more unbelievable thing in the world, you will want to listen to this. When Rachel Dida shares her opinions, you will be shocked by what she has to say. And so the fact that he went on about the read, talked about Nafisa, talked about Caitlin Clark, and then after that, there was like 5 or 6 seconds of literal silence because Sheryl Swoopes was not jumping in. That was the point that I was like, okay, here is once again another example of Sheryl Swoopes hating Caitlin Clark so much that she literally can't even say her name. Rachel Dida wasn't the catalyst for the mayhem. Rather, it all started on the hardwood when a teenage star emerged and completely upended the WNBA. How did Caitlin Clark's astounding performances lead to her being inducted into the Hall of Fame? It's like tumbling from the top. Like, Caitlin Clark is the Voldemort if Sheryl Swoopes was Harry Potter. Like, literally cannot say Caitlin Clark's name. It is so bizarre. Sheryl Swoopes, Lisa Leslie, those women were like the gold standard of basketball. So it's just so weird to me for her to just be hating. Like, there's no other way to describe it. You may be wondering how one player could create this much chaos, but Caitlin Clark isn't your typical baller. She's been causing a stir and stealing the show ever since she put on her sneakers. She seems to have a personal contract with drama and highlight reels. And believe me, it's not just her jump shot that is everyone talking. There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA. I mean, you had somebody who was the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history who plays for Las Vegas. And nobody talked about her. Nobody talked about Kelsey. Wonderful player. Nobody talked about her. Caitlin Clark is just different. It's not just about the stats, though, as Clark has been dominating her rookie season, averaging an incredible 25 points a game. That's move over veteran territory. With a career-high 31 points against the Chicago Sky, Clark has completely changed the course of the Indiana Fever, taking a team that had a dismal 1-8 record at the beginning and making them real winners. She's not done yet. Can you even imagine being a rookie and sloppily putting up numbers like that? She buried Angel Reese in Chicago last Friday. The Fever blew out the sky. On a night when Dopey DeShields delivered 3 cheap shots, Clark posted 31 points and 12 assists in a 19-point victory. Show White exited the game to a round of applause and then sat and watched Sleazy Reese pad her stats in the final 90 seconds. here's where things get crazy. Because even though Clark was playing her heart out, she wasn't selected for the Olympic team. I know, you're probably wondering how you bench a player who's killing it. Some people are saying, hey, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. It could give Clark a chance to recharge her batteries for the WNBA season. Now, I bet you're wondering what Sheryl Swoopes has to do with this. Well, hold on to your seat. Because this is where the drama begins. The basketball legend herself commented on Clark's success, and let's say her hot take was as well received as pineapple on pizza. This is definitely not the first time that Sheryl Swoopes has thrown shade or omitted Caitlin from her broadcast or from her podcast. Just last week on her podcast, her and her co-host were talking about the Indiana fever post the Olympic break, and here's what she had to say about the fever. I believe Indiana benefited greatly from the Olympic pause. As a huge fan of Lexi Hull, I'm going to give her a shout out. During their match versus Seattle, Lexi Hull took the leather off the ball. Kelsey Mitchell is simply shooting the basketball while stroking. Aaliyah Boston is on the verge of a triple-double, and if Indiana keeps playing this manner, they will also rise in the standings. So no Caitlin Claw. I'm not implying that these players aren't excellent, but how can you ignore Clark? Swoopes didn't only avert her eyes at Clark's scoring stats. Instead, she basically threw the entire rulebook at her, asking if. So no Caitlin Claw. These remarks sparked a flurry of rumor, with people speculating as if it had been a family gathering gone bad. Suddenly, there is talk of some WNBA veterans feeling a little, let's say, green over Clark's quick ascent. It's almost as if there is an unwritten battle of the generations. The tension between the veterans clutching their trophies, anxiously observing Clark, and wondering who invited the new guy with all the talent is so great that you could probably break it with a basketball. You're going to break a record. To me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it. If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. Swoopes was unaware that her remarks would have grave repercussions. Point one would think that a Hall of Famer would be beyond reproach. Yes, but what transpired next completely upended everything. These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan. Let's underscore up the WNBA. We couldn't have devised a grand scheme for what these women have to. If you like the video, then like the video and subscribe to the channel. Accomplished. Swoopes attempted to clarify her stance on Twitter by claiming that she had the right to discuss players she knew personally, but her remarks only served to exacerbate the debate. And in a shocking turn of events, the WNBA chose to fire her by selecting Ron Thalin and Nancy Lieberman for a forthcoming game. The league evidently questioned Swoopes' capacity to maintain objectivity when talking about Caitlin Clark. It doesn't even make any sense, like not even a nod to Caitlin Clark, not even saying like, Caitlin Clark's playing well, or Caitlin Clark's leading the team. You don't even have to be that complimentary, but leaving her out completely when she is the number one component of that Indiana Fever team, and has also been playing a lot better post this Olympic break than she was before. To completely leave her out, it's so weird. As a commentator, imagine the WNBA pulling out their shirts and declaring, yeah, we're not letting anyone, even if you've got Hall of Fame status, mess with our up-and-coming stars bold, right? You may be asking, why make such a dramatic move? Well, it's all about ensuring the game's future. As a commentator, this wasn't just about one game. It was a career plot twist. The WNBA couldn't risk anyone because Caitlin Clark isn't your typical player. She attracts new fans like a magnet. They essentially replied, not today, never, in an attempt to disparage her vibe. If you got people in a room, yeah. If you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done. This instance demonstrates how serious things have gotten in women's basketball, where every word and move is scrutinized, and even a minor error can result in a well-known player being benched. Continues to hate on Caitlin Clark, and it's basically pushing the narrative that the media and other players in the WNBA and people in general are just hating on Caitlin Clark when there seems to be no reason why. So when you start to try to figure out the reasoning, all you can think of is maybe they're jealous. Maybe they think it should have been them. Maybe they don't like how much praise Caitlin Clark is getting. The NBA is now about the entire league's history and present, not just legends like Swoopes and Clark. The difficult part is striking a balance between supporting the up-and-coming players and admiring the legends. It's like trying to walk a tight RPP while juggling flaming basketballs, and Swoopes just dropped 1. Essentially, you're employed by the WNBA. Everything that you're doing is around the WNBA. It's not a good look, and it's especially not a good look because you're a legendary player. Yourself. Before all of this, I was a Sheryl Swoopes fan. I feel like any player growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, like Sheryl Swoopes, Lisa Leslie, those women were the gold standard of basketball. So it's just so weird to me for her to just be hating. There's no other way to describe it. She's just clearly hating on Caitlin Clark. This narrative isn't finished yet. Just when it seems that everything had already occurred, someone else spoke up without holding back. This girl is incredible. What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA. She turned the Fever over 1-8. They have a winning record now. The number of attention eyeballs, she's bought the cards and the pros. And for these women, to have this petty jealousness, you say to yourself, damn, what is going on here? Well, you got accused of that stuff too, with the older players being resentful of the new generation. It's kind of part of the basketball process. Everybody thinks their generation's the best. No. Anytime we say something about guys, get off my lawn guy. But the stuff toward her is petty and jealous. Since there is no justification for harboring animosity toward her, we also write about the hate speech that has been directed at her. She then went on to ask if you discuss them or other league members and give them accolades. It's so strange to them. I don't know. It's just like I'm spy. So I sincerely hope you all take all of this energy to the polls and vote for whatever. So Stephen A. Smith called her out and she clapped back on Twitter and she said, you talk about whomever and whatever you want on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players and they deserve recognition as well. While Swoopes may be putting a full court pressure on our sanity, you have to ask why a former NBA 2K TV host would jeopardize her MVP status in order to defend Caitlin Clark. For those who haven't been keeping score, the answer may surprise you. The former Division EY player, Rachel Dida, isn't just another commentator throwing up nonsense. She traded her jersey for a microphone and slammed on her way into the media as the host of NBA 2K TV. Since then, she's been nothing but net in the world of basketball commentary, gaining respect faster than a fast break. When she speaks, even the sound of sneakers on the court goes silent. What's the play here? If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and subscribe for all the latest updates and trending opinions on women's basketball. Thank you for seeing and check back soon for more. We also write about the fact that there's been some haterade being thrown in her direction. Okay? Because there's no excuse to have resentment towards her. Then she doubled down and she said, do you talk about them or others in the league and give them their props? I really do hope you'll take all of this energy to the polls and vote. What? Vote? On what? Like, it's so weird to then. I don't know. It's just like, thanks for watching and subscribe my channel.